Hey YouTube, this is Story Dude. We are here once again to read you those stories. Let's see what people are talking about on the internet today. Today I effed up by inviting a girl over. This happened this morning. This TIFU started on Saturday. It's Thursday now. What? I matched with a girl on Facebook dating, and she was very cute. Whoa. There's a Facebook dating? Huh. The things you learn when you're reading these stories. So she was very cute. I did notice that she's only smiled with her top row of teeth in the pictures and figured that her bottom teeth might be effed up, but didn't think much of it. She had trad wife energy, and I was into it. We end up meeting on Sunday after some pretty clean chatting. Turns out she lives exactly 8 minutes from me, so I offered to pick her up for our first date. I learned a lot about her in a very short time. I won't reveal all the details, but she had battled a long time with eating disorders, thus her teeth were a bit janky. From what I saw, they weren't that bad, though. This is all a red herring. Nothing about this TIF up has to do with the teeth. I wanted to mention it because I was so focused on this that I didn't pick up on the other red flags. I also find out that she doesn't drink all that often and only at meal times if it's appropriate. How nice. She also lives with her parents. Why? She has a surgery coming up and it's involving a lot of physical therapy. I pieced together it's probably due to her aforementioned eating disorders and a complication thereof. Otherwise, great date. Fast forward to last night / this morning. I invite her over for dinner. The plan was her dad would drop her off because she doesn't have her car due to a recent wreck, and I would drive her home later that evening. Okay, she also tells me that she is a felon like 1 hour before we hang out. Okay, don't worry, it's just 3 DUIs and it's over with. Thanks for telling me? No, I really should have paid attention to this red flag. She comes over, and after pleasantries, I start to cook a shrimp curry soup. She asks for a drink. I show her my drink cabinet and picks out the most expensive tequila I have. That's fine. She proceeds to have 2 shots. Biggest F up. I presume that everyone is good at self-regulation of their drinking. It's just what I believe. We know if we are getting toasted or not, and it's intentional. I join and catch up with 2 shots. I get a seltzer for myself, and she grabs a cocktail. And another one. 4 drinks in 40 minutes for this 110-pound person. I assume she's good at holding her liquor. After dinner, we are cuddling where she was her head in my lap. Suddenly, to my surprise, she takes her pants off and says, "Let's go to bed. A woman has needs." Gentle reader, let me mention nothing sexual happened here. I was barely registering as tipsy and she was beyond drunk. I set her in bed and she immediately passes out. No worries. I'll pull a trash can near her and I'll go watch some TV, play video games, and check on her. The horror story starts here. I check on her and I realize that my bed is dark. I touch it. It's pee. Just effing great. I attempt to rouse her and alert her that she has soiled herself and my bed. She wakes up and asks me why I'm waking her up and then tries to flirt with me. I then notice she's soiling herself. Again, actively, while trying to seduce me. I somehow managed to get her to the bathroom and sit her on a toilet and have her drink water to sober up. This was a bad plan later. She refuses to use the toilet and I ease her down to the ground on my fuzzy bath mat. I drape her with a towel and place another beneath her, just in case. I then spend the next 5 hours until 4:30 a.m. washing my clothes, her clothes, my bedding, and comfort her. At some point, I sit on the couch where she was earlier and realized that she had soiled my couch. That's why she was so urgent to go to bed. FML. I do check on her to make sure she's okay, and I end up changing her towel twice. I finally decide to go to sleep at around 5, and I have work at 9, despite the ice storm. I set an alarm at 8 so I can drive her the hell home and forget it all happened. At 6:30, she wakes up, confused and naked, to which I provide her some of my gym clothes that I don't really care about. I go back to the couch and she is embarrassed and hungry. Fine, go eat leftovers, but left me sleep. She clangs around the kitchen a while. She apparently ate all the shrimp and the soup. Great. She decides to cuddle with me on the couch and I have no energy to push her away. She attempts to kiss me, but I rebuke it and then realize there's gin on her breath. I spring up and go to the kitchen and realize she drank another 4 ounces of gin. at 7:30 a.m. I run back to the bed and she's catatonic again. I start to freak out and see her phone. She's told me her birthday on the first date and used that to open her phone. Voila. It turns out she missed like 9 calls from her parents. So I call them from her phone. I explain every single detail of the happenings of the night, and they are mortified. I tell them I have work and they need to come get her now. An hour later, her father shows up, which is ridiculous because they live so close, but I was just happy he was there. I had gathered her laundry, belongings, etc., and give it to Dad. Dad is not happy. He yells at her, and I tell him, hey, sorry, my house. Please no yelling. He apologizes and agrees, surprised that actually worked, but I guess he was embarrassed about everything. Dad takes the stuff and comes back and says, she was almost 1 week sober. And this happens. Not your fault, son. Oh, the DUI thing makes sense now. She cannot stand up by herself, so he tries to scoop her up from the couch, but she's completely dead weight and wakes up, yelling that she hates her dad and pees on him. And my couch. Again, we both end up dragging her to the car and my neighbors are watching, mortified of what seems like a kidnapping happening. Her mom just texted me to apologize a few hours later and that she would get my clothes back. Edit, I'm most upset that in sitting here eating my shrimpless soup. TLDR, I ignored the red flags on a cute date and she ends up pissing on everything in my house and her father. Wow. That's a crazy story, but I think the craziest part is that there is a Facebook dating app, and how did I not know about this? Because Facebook has become such a crazy place. I can only imagine that the Facebook dating app is a train wreck, and I think that this story is a good example of why no one should probably use that. Although, in all fairness, it could happen on Tinder or Tumblr or Grindr or whatever. But yeah, so somehow this story has like strong Facebook vibes. A lot of these stories are just effed up to be true. This one's too effed up to be made up, man. It has to be true. Wow. Yeah, I guess I try not to say this anymore, but I'm just going to say this now. I believe a lot of things that I read are not true. That's just me. But I try not to be cynical and I try to go along with it. But hey, if another commenter is talking about it, I'm gonna agree that I don't think, in all fairness, I don't think this story happened. That's my belief. My guy, you brought in the equivalent of a stray cat. But the most awkward thing is she still lives 8 minutes from your house and she knows where you live. Good luck, mate. Rest in pepperonis. My question is, why are people driving if it's an 8-minute drive? I guess that's like a mile or two. I guess it's slightly too long to... Oh, ice storm too. Details. You were there for someone else's rock bottom. It sounds like you handled it far better than most people would have. Hopefully she turns it around and maybe even apologizes to you when she's clean again. Yeah, that is something that stood out to me, is that the OP did behave very honorably, but then again, he is writing the story, so he's going to make himself look as good as possible. So, I can't believe you ate the soup. She might have dipped her pea-soaked hands into the soup to grab the shrimps. Wow. All right. TIF up by also not realizing I had athlete's foot for 20 years. I am a 35-year-old female, and I saw a post on TIF up a few weeks ago about someone who had thick, calloused, crusty, mother-chuffing feet, and that they had tried all sorts of pumice stones, metal graters, etc., and always envied other people for their soft, pinky feet. They discovered that they had a fungal infection and that their feet got better after treating it. I thought, on reading these unmanicurable hooves of my fellow Redditor. Since I've been a teenager, I too have been cursed with thick, hardened soles with cracked heels. I don't have the gnarled yellow talons this fellow described, but I've tried every cheese grater, acid-lined socks, seriously, intense moisturizing regimens, but I've had a soft foot since I was a child. But I've not had a soft foot since I was a child. I always thought athlete's foot was itchy red scales around the toes, not a thick, cratered callus I had always had. The part that really got me thinking was when OP mused that their cracked skin went up the sides of the feet. Oh no, mine does the same too. Maybe. And yes, fellow Redditors, I too have been harboring an ungodly fungal foot infection for 20 years. After 7 days of using an over-the-counter antifungal cream, my feet are already softer and more like that of an elf rather than a hobbit. Maybe one day I can slip my feet into bed without a crusty-edged trotter catching on the sheets. TLDR, I lived with crusty feet for my whole adult life for no goddamn reason. Edit, the foot cream I'm using is Caniston, Cotrimazole. See you on the beach, my soon-to-be soft-footed friends. Wow. I do know some people who have crusty feet. I will relay this message to them. I too thought that athlete's foot was like red itchy stuff between your toes. And yeah, anyway, I'm not sure I really wanted to read that. I also kind of want to tell you my experience with athlete's foot, but I don't know, I just feel it's kind of gross. I'm pissed to admit that this may be the Reddit thread I needed to today. Yeah, because athlete's foot is tricky. All right, I mean, I'm here for a reason. I mean, whatever. I'm gonna tell you my story of athlete's foot. So I had a job in the tropics for about a year, and my feet immediately got I immediately got athlete's foot because it's hot. It was humid. I was outside working a lot, and so anyway, I went to the store and bought the traditional powder, because I think in the U.S. we generally use creams, but I think back in the day there was like some powder that people would put on their feet to cure it. So I'd like pump my foot full of this powder and then put my sock on, go about my business. And the athlete's foot got progressively worse and worse and worse. And it turns out that in developing countries, they sometimes, it sounds like, people cutting heroin or whatever, but they cut the athlete's foot powder with, what's it called? Cornstarch. And cornstarch is something that fungus and bacteria feast on. So I was essentially just nourishing this fungal infection on my feet for months on end until I finally went down a rabbit hole on the internet and figured out that this powder was no good. But of course, living way out in the boonies, there was there's no fungal cream available. So I, used Mother Nature every day after work, and actually before work sometimes I would take a foot bath in the sun, and I'd put my feet up in the sun and kind of spread my toes and let the UV rays do the work. And let me tell you that it did work admirably. So anyway, that was story dude telling stories. That's what we do, man. All right, Rust Stain Remover says he got itchy feet around 35 years old. Gym, locker room, I don't know. I was always careful. Doctor had me using echinazole cream daily. Helped, but definitely no cure. Got to put this cream on my feet every day, rest of my life. Made appointment with a specialist. This idiot doesn't seem to hear how bad this bothers me. Tells me to go to the store, get certain dry roll or antiperspirant, use on feet once or twice a day. I can't recall, and that should fix it. Absolute waste of time and copay. Oh, copay. In a few days, it became apparent that the specialist was not an idiot. Okay, so the point is that the antiperspirant did work. Okay, that's offering a nice tip. For those relating to this on a spiritual and literal level, if no fungus is found, psoriasis is another possible explanation. Source, my own nasty feet. Wow. I thought I had athlete's foot for a couple of years. Always embarrassed to have my socks off in front of people. I tried all the remedies. In for a physical, and my doc asks why I didn't remove the socks, and he took a look. Turns out I just had really bad eczema. He prescribed a cream, and it was gone within days. After 2 years, I felt like such an idiot. Yeah, I mean, I think a common thread I'm seeing here, especially going back to the OP's post, is that having a checkup is important, and make sure they look at all the parts, even if it's embarrassing. I mean, show them the embarrassing parts. That's probably what they should be looking at. You should never don't hide your nasty bits when you go to the doctor. Like the doctor is all about your nasty bits. And on that note, I'm out. So I hope that wherever you are, you're having a great day, because we're certainly having a great day here at Story Dude Productions. Yeah, so we're just gonna get back to it. We'll catch you soon. Take care, everybody.